Men, don't do this after a breakup. Don't use escapism to avoid the pain. So, what pain am I on about, and what's escapism? So the definition of escapism is the tendency to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities, especially by seeking entertainment or engaging in fantasy. So I'll explain how that applies to coming out of a breakup. But first, why are you in pain? Now, this doesn't apply to you. If you've come out of a breakup and it's not painful, then this isn't a problem. So there's probably a reason why you broke up, and that's fine. Just crack on. If it's extremely painful after a breakup, then this will be why. And all of this has come from my friend. He's kind of, when I've needed it, told me what to expect and why I feel a certain way, and it will probably apply to you, so if this is useful. So why is it painful coming out of a breakup? And this can be whether you broke up with the person or they broke up with you. I don't really think it matters. It's just sort of a universal pain. And it's because as a man, so I'm speaking to men, I can only really speak from the male perspective, and I think it's slightly different for women, and I'll talk about that. But as a man, it's always your fault, right? Anything that's wrong with the relationship, any time it didn't work out, it's on you, because you're the man that holds the frame and determines how it goes. So it's always your fault. And it's painful because it's the realization that it didn't work out, and there's something in your character that needs to change. Otherwise you're going to repeat the same problem. When you move forward with somebody else, it's going to be exactly the same, and it will end up the same, because we just repeat our behaviours. So a breakup is essentially like an ego death, because it's saying, well, this didn't work out and it's your fault, so there's something wrong with you. And you might argue that, oh, it might just not have been the right person, but I think it's always your responsibility. You can always make it work or not, and if it didn't work, I mean, it might have been the wrong person, but there are always lessons to learn. So the pain is because everybody, I read in the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, the author says essentially everybody wants to feel important. We're all player one, so we all want to feel important, and a part of that is you want to feel wanted and useful to your tribe. So you think back in the day, if you weren't useful to your tribe, you might get cast out, and then you're essentially left to your own devices on your own, out of the tribe, and that's not a very good survival strategy. So you always want to feel wanted, useful and important. The important people are looked after in society, essentially. So with a breakup, that is a significant person in your life essentially saying, we're not compatible, this didn't work, you're not useful to me, and you're not important to me. So I've spoke about the rice experiment before. The rice that was loved fermented and went nice. The rice that was hated went a little bit mouldy, and the rice that was completely ignored went really mouldy. So you might want to check out the rice experiment. But to be important to someone, important enough to someone for them to abuse you essentially, than to be completely ignored, that is the worst outcome. And with a breakup, that's usually the case. So what I've just described there, the pain you feel off the back of a breakup, my friend calls it the black hole, right? And that's how it feels. It's like a black hole inside of you, and it's because a bit of you's died. You thought you was fine. You know, people say, just be yourself. Well, as a man, sometimes yourself isn't good enough and you have to improve. And that's what life is. You learn, you make mistakes, and then you improve on them. So, and that's the case with a breakup. If you just go into the next relationship with all the same behaviours and how you proceeded last time, you might end up in the same result. And that's why it's painful, because you kind of know this. You think, well, if I take this into the next relationship, it's just going to go to shit like the last one did. So that's the black hole. That's the pain I'm talking about. So don't use escapism to avoid the pain. So if you're feeling pain off the back of a relationship, that's the black hole. That's why. Because you've essentially been told by the outcome of the relationship that you're not important, you're not useful, and you realise you need to address that. And that's very painful because that's an ego death. That's something deep within your identity that is wrong and you need to fix it. So from an evolutionary perspective, if a partner has deemed you not useful, you essentially, that's anti-survival. You can't reproduce. So a relationship failing is essentially like saying you are not worthy of having children because it didn't work out. So although psychologically that's not the case, you could find another partner and have children with that. Like, it's deep down, that's why you've got this black hole feeling, because it's like saying, oh yeah, you're one of the millions of people that are not going to have kids because you're not worthy of a relationship. So that's kind of like a deeper meaning of any time a relationship fails. That's why it's so painful. So because nature wants everything to survive and reproduce and move forward, that's all this feeling is. So a relationship failing is anti-survival, which causes pain, which is a motivation for you to improve so the next relationship doesn't fail. And the same is the case with every other motivation. So think of hunger. If you don't have a meal, right, that's like the relationship failing. I don't have a relationship. Hunger results, so pain results, and it motivates you to find more food. It motivates you to improve on what failed in the last relationship. So it's not good or bad. You can't judge it and go, oh, I feel so terrible, this person doesn't want me. No, it's the same. You don't judge the fact you're hungry, you just go and eat a meal. You solve the problem, which is find more food. So it's not good or bad, it's just pain that you've got to deal with. So I think men and women are different with this, because as a man, something you have done has either depolarized a relationship or made it not work out. And you are expendable. The woman can just look for another man. There are plenty of other men that are going to fulfill the role. So as a woman, you never really have to address things within your character. You just go, that didn't work out, look for another man. And women are quite good at doing this, and they do it quite quickly. And I think this is what throws men. And there's nothing wrong with that. Men and women are different. They're equal opposites. They're complementary reciprocals, so they're not meant to be the same. But logically, men can't figure out, well, it couldn't have been that important with me because they've moved on so quickly. But that again is nature's strategy for that woman to be looked after. Whereas a man can fend for himself. He can go and, look after himself for a year until he finds an ex-partner. Do you know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with it. But men and women deal with this different, and I think that's normal. I don't think they should deal with it the same. But men should, if you're doing it right, go away, look at what happened, address why, use logic to realise why the relationship didn't work, and learn from those lessons so that next time it does work, and it works more, like it doesn't fail essentially. Whereas a woman can look for the man who's learnt those lessons. So that man that your ex essentially goes to has done this. He's black holed 5 different women potentially. He might have got it right the first time. That's what you want. This is how you avoid trauma in life. You get it right the first time, but we're all here to learn. So that woman has broke up with you, or you've broke up with her for whatever reason, and now she's looking for the guy who's black holed and learnt the lessons, and that's going to be you. So you can expect multiple painful breakups and heartbreaks and black holes, because that's just how you learn to not have relationships fail. It's like anything. If you're learning to drive, you might ding the car a couple of times before you get it right. That's just how you learn. That's why we're here. So So a man has to black hole and look at himself and have an ego death and realise there's something drastically wrong with him and fix it. And a woman just looks for a man who's been through that process. And that's the strategy. Both times it's painful, because for the woman, she wanted that first guy, that first man, to be the one that sort of, for the relation. Nobody wants a relationship to fail, but if it fails, it's because the man has allowed it to fail, and both parties know that. The woman knows that, she'll look for a different man. The man knows that he'll have the black hole feel. So that's how you know. So where does escapism come into this? So when you get that black hole feel, so the definition of escapism was the tendency to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities, especially by seeking entertainment or engaging in fantasy. So a common thing that men will do off the back of a failed relationship is like the rebound person. So that is seeking entertainment, well, not entertainment, but engaging in fantasy. You want to feel like your last relationship didn't fail, so you straight away rebound into something else, and that makes you think, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. Do you know what I mean? But what you don't realise is you'll probably have that relationship fail in the same time frame because you've learnt no lessons. So the rebound is you trying to say, I am important, I am valuable, and there's nothing wrong with me. Look, I can prove it by being with this other person. And that's not a good strategy, because it might work out. It might have just been the situation, but if it doesn't, then you've just proved to yourself again, and then you can just rebound again. And people do this, they get like caught in cycles. The tendency to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities. So the unpleasant reality is you're in pain after a failed relationship. We've discussed it's because of the black hole feeling, because you feel unimportant and unwanted. Nobody wants to feel unwanted. It's like the deepest motivation, like children. All children want to be loved. And we're just, adults want to be loved, want to be wanted, and want to be important. So escaping that, how would you do it? So the rebound, so you feel loved by somebody else. And then you've just got normal vices. This is how you escape it. You might drink, you might overeat, smoke, gamble. So any of the vices that you would normally use, any like addictive behaviours that give you dopamine hits and make you feel good. Smoking weed, that's a big one. And the problem with that is, my friend, again, I got to credit him for this, because he said he calls those procrastination. So there's facing reality, or you like somebody that drinks, they drown their sorrow. So you can either face reality or drink. And he said anytime you do one of these vices, it's like procrastination, because you're not facing the job at hand. And he says anytime you procrastinate, you freeze yourself in time. So whatever trauma or issues you've got, every time you procrastinate, you're not addressing them, you're frozen. So, and you can do this off the back of a failed relationship. You can do this for like 10 years. You could literally freeze yourself in time for 10 years. And I've personally done this. I've had something that didn't work out, and then I just habitually did vices, because you're searching for that love and that feeling of being wanted, and you can't find it because there's something wrong with your character that needs addressing, and it's painful to address it. So you just do vices. Overeating was a massive one for me, and so I did some other things as well. But overeating, just to feel good, because it makes you feel it satisfies the same need, but it's not the same. So to sit, not overeating, and address the fact that there's something that needs fixing in your character is very difficult. So yeah, and I see it in other people. The relationship that they really wanted to work didn't work out, and then they'll go out like every weekend, Friday, Saturday, drinking, getting with other people, and that never works out. And it's just procrastination, it's vices, and it's escapism. And some people do that, like they might have their heart broken at 18 and they're still doing that at 38. Do you know what I mean? And it's dangerous because you can just fall into it, and you don't even know it's happening. You're just doing vices to numb the pain of the black hole. So what do you do? So when I was going through this, I would ask my friend, because he's had experience, and he's like, yeah, this is to be expected. I've noticed this in previous relationships, and this is kind of how it goes. And he could run me through the timeline. And I said to him, so what's the time frame? Well, actually, first, I'll tell you how you fix the black hole. So you be present and you embrace the black hole. So the tendency to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities. So the solution to that is you don't seek relief. You face the reality as it is, and you go, right, that didn't work out. I now need to sit here and figure out what needs to change, because history repeats itself. If it didn't work out this time, it's probably not going to work out next time. You've got to face reality, and that's just a lack of vices. So, the $1 million question, how long is this going to take? And when I ask my friend things like this, he's brutal, right? Because I think a couple of weeks, if I just look at it for what it is, I might figure it out. And he'll just casually go, yeah, it'll take 6 months to a year. And he says it depends how long you was in the relationship for. But yeah, he's just like, yeah, 6 months to a year. To me, that's a long time. Do you know what I mean? To feel how you feel. But Timmy's like, yeah, that's just what you have to do. So, yeah, you got 6 months to a year of this if you are experiencing what I'm talking about. But if you do like a lot of good habits, this will happen quicker. So if you're like hitting the gym, eating clean, just generally looking after yourself. If you're really stressed from work and running yourself down with your kids and whatever, then you'll run down in other areas. So you got to look after yourself. Self-care, I guess you'd call it. Another thing he did mention, my sleep was a bit poor due to this. I didn't actually know it was due to this, but my sleep was terrible. And he was like, oh, it's probably because of that. And it's because, what did he say? Sleep is when you process emotions and life experiences. And I was like waking up during the night every hour. Like I'd wake up, I would sleep for a good amount, but it would be broken up. And he's like, oh yeah, you're processing. It's essentially trauma, isn't it, when things don't work out. So your body's feels threatened. I'm not wanted. The tribe is pushing me out, and I'm at threat. So that's what he said. If you go on the analogy that you're unwanted and unuseful to your tribe, if you was cast out by your tribe, you wouldn't be sleeping all day. You'd be trying to look for another tribe or a way to get back in, or looking after yourself. So it's your body's saying you're at threat, you're not wanted, you need to not be asleep. So that's why you keep waking up. And REM sleep, dreams, help rewire emotions. That's in the book Why We Sleep by Paul Walker, I think it is. Worth checking out. So it's going to affect your sleep. So if you can try and consciously optimize sleep, you'll get through that 6 months. It'll be quicker. So you have to be present and experience the black hole. But the number one thing is learn the lessons and improve. It was your fault why it failed, and you need to improve. Once you've learned the lessons, I think that's what gets rid of the black hole, because now you have confidence that the next relationship isn't going to fail and isn't going to be a repeat of the first. I think that's how you get rid of it, and I think that's how you get rid of it quicker. Because if you consciously look and go, because it's just a motivation, it's just hunger, isn't it? Essentially hunger. If you didn't know why you was hungry and you didn't go and seek more food, you would just be hungry forever and probably die of starvation. But as soon as you recognise you're hungry, you're not stressed anymore, because you know, even if you can't get food immediately, say you're hungry at midday and you know you can't get home and eat until like 7 o'clock at night, the hunger doesn't bother you because you know food's there. If you didn't know food was there and you'd have to like get it, then that would be a different story. So learn the lessons and address the issues. So yeah, I've written something down there and I can't read it, so that point's gone. But be in reality. I started by saying, men, don't do this after a breakup. That is, don't use escapism to escape reality. The opposite of that is be in reality. So, hope that helps. Let me know if any of that is relatable, because that might just be my experience and my friend's experience, but I think that's pretty universal. And I don't know about the female perspective because I haven't experienced that, but I would imagine it is different to men. But if it's the same, because I know some women do like the rebound thing, but I don't even think it's a rebound thing. I think it is just looking for a man who is better, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But to like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you can let me know if you've experienced that and you've got sort of insight, then I'm all ears. So done. Hope you have a good day.